Hello! Now, let me begin with a story, okay? Imagine there are two islands, Island A and Island B. Now, these two islands, they don't have any modern technology at all. No cars, no computers, no aeroplanes, no steam-powered boats. Just simple boats that people paddle with, alright? Now, let's imagine that one day, the governments of the two islands, they decide to build a bridge to connect the two islands. Oh, that's a good thing, isn't it? Now people can cross the bridge easily to the other side. But a bridge is more than just a bridge. Of course, now we can have a much greater exchange of people, of trade, of culture, and ideas even. So people on both islands can be enriched by each other, right? But let's say, for example, that the price of rice in Island A is so much cheaper than the price of rice in Island B. Now, if everyone in Island B knows that rice is so much cheaper on the other side, and if it's so convenient to cross the bridge to get cheap rice, hey, guess what? Oh, everyone in Island B is going to just cross over and get cheap rice, right? So the rice sellers in Island A, oh, they'll be so happy. But the rice sellers in Island B, oh, they'll be very upset, right? What if we consider the length of the bridge? Suppose the bridge was just about 100 meters. Now that takes about a minute or two to cross the bridge. Anyone can use it. But what if the bridge is 10 kilometers? Wow, that will take about 2 hours to cross the bridge and another 2 hours to return. Ain't nobody got time for that, right? But don't forget that in this scenario, the people of the two islands, they don't have modern technology. They don't have cars. So most people would not want to walk across the bridge. I mean, it's not that convenient to get affordable rice anymore, yeah? So then the question is, who will use the bridge? If you have plenty of time to walk across, sure, right? But maybe people with horses or carriages, perhaps, they can benefit from the bridge quite significantly. In fact, they are the ones who can enjoy the affordable rice on the other side. More importantly, they can make extra money transporting people who can afford to pay for the ride. So as you can see, the length of the bridge changes things so much. The less well-off are less likely to use the bridge or even benefit from it. Whereas the more privileged ones with horses and carriages can use the bridge and enjoy all the benefits from the bridge. So it is in this sense that a bridge is more than just a bridge. So things like bridges can have politics in the sense that they influence people's decisions and their lives. So things like bridges can filter people out. But what about algorithms? So algorithms decide who's eligible or not eligible, who gets access, who's denied access, what you can see, what you cannot see. It is for this reason that algorithms contain politics as well, because by controlling what you can see, what you can do, what you're eligible for, it has the power to shape and change human activity and all other social arrangements for better or for worse. Now, in an earlier lecture video, I talked about the problems of translation. We need to translate what's out there in reality into a model for analysis or model for problem solving. And that's really when the problem begins, because translation is never accurate, and oftentimes when we're creating models, we have to make use of proxy measures. Now, if you remember, in an earlier lecture video, I talked about proxy measures. There are some questions where the data cannot answer the question directly. Now, there is an interpretive gap between the data and our interpretation, and we fill that gap with what we know, and more dangerously, what we think we know. This includes our prejudices, our biases, and even our ignorance about people and the world. So let me illustrate with this scenario. Imagine that you're a human resource professional and you must screen 1,000 job applicants every single day. Today, we'll need to screen applicants, people who freshly graduated from university, into our prestigious Management Associate program. Oh, what is that? Well, they will be fast-tracked into managerial positions where they will lead departments as directors. So we'll need people who are intelligent, have good social skills, and more importantly, have leadership qualities. So who's eligible? Now, this question requires us to use proxy measures for our classification model. Now, you may say that grades will be a good measure. The higher the grade, the smarter and more hardworking they are. Sure. But there are just as many who attain high grades because they have very low risk appetites. They won't make good leaders because they don't dare to take any risk at all, right? So a measure like this does not tell us about their social skills and their leadership qualities, right? How about leadership positions in a club or society? Now, that could tell us something, sure, but just because someone holds a leadership position, does not mean that the person is a good leader, right? The fact is, no measure is perfect for a classification model, and we'll always feel like we need more data, more data. That's the problem with proxy measures. No data will ever be enough because these questions require us to interpret the data. They require us to inject our own assumptions and even our own prejudices in order to make sense of the data. Let's suppose that we decide to use the following measures because it's supposedly more holistic, right? Voluntary community service and leadership experience in a club or society. Now, take a step back and ask yourself, what background allows a student to do so many of these things? If you think about it, they need to come from more financially stable backgrounds, yeah? Now, it's more likely that students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds won't have the time to pursue these things as they are busy, working part-time jobs after school to make ends meet for their families. Now, of course, this is a hypothetical scenario, but it demonstrates how our own assumptions and beliefs and ignorance too about the world can influence our judgment on the criteria we use. And more importantly, this demonstrates something known as algorithmic discrimination. Just as how the length of a bridge filters out less privileged classes from using it, the kinds of criteria we use in our models can also filter out people from specific classes. But wait, there's more. Now let me tell you a story about carrots. Now, have you ever Googled ugly carrot? No? Well, why don't you go ahead, give it a try. You're going to find that a lot of carrots, they don't look carroty at all, right? Oh, look at that. Would you dare to buy it, put it in your mouth? Ew, gross, right? Such an abomination. But here's the strange thing, yeah? Did you know that about 50% of carrots are naturally ugly? And well, they go to waste because nobody wants to buy an ugly carrot. So how did this happen? Well, when we're young, our parents, they presented us with model carrots. Oh, C is for carrot. Right? And so being young, ignorant and naive, what do? We look at it, we look at the model carrot and we blindly accept. And then when we grow up, we continue to see carrots that fit the model, right? And it reinforces our perspective, our view that all carrots are supposed to look like this. And then when we see ugly carrots, what happens? They don't fit the model, right? And so we look at it, freak of nature, abomination, and we don't buy them. Now, shop owners, they know that no one wants to buy ugly carrots, so what's going to happen? They're going to stop selling ugly carrots. And well, fast forward to today, do you see ugly carrots around? Well, very rarely, right? Or even not at all, yeah? You go back to your grocers, you go back to the supermarket, you don't see ugly carrots anymore. And that reinforces our perception that ugly carrots are rare and that carrots should look like this, our model carrot. But don't forget that the reality is that 50% of carrots are ugly. Yeah? So here's the question. What happened to all those ugly carrots? Haha, have you heard of baby carrot? So here's the truth about baby carrots. Those ugly carrots? They've all been cut down to size. Now if you don't believe me, go Google. Now the point is this, models are very normative. They set the expectation of what is normal. And what happens to the things that don't fit the model, like ugly carrots? They have to be cut down to fit the model norm. And we see this happening not just with carrots, but all around us. Many of us, we try hard to fit the models that we've been exposed to. We look at the model and we say, oh, look at this model, so beautiful, so good. I don't look anything like this model. Oh, I feel bad. I need to do something about myself, right? Now, I'm not just talking about appearances. Going back to that HR scenario, right? If companies start to hire fresh graduates because of grades, voluntary hours, or even holding leadership positions in clubs and societies, what's going to happen? You're going to see a lot of students, they're going to start to, like the ugly carrots being cut down to size, they're going to start taking up all these things. In fact, this is happening right now in Singapore and so many other places around the world. So models can and will push people to alter their behavior and themselves. And that changes the reality, the social environment in which we live. And if we're not critical in the design of our models, what's going to happen? Well, we might very well be creating an environment where our assumptions and prejudices become reality. Much like the same way model carrots have driven ugly carrots out of the picture. And this is the politics of algorithms.